And it's great because it's like any other podcast. In title, it's about the Highland Games, right? But really what happens is that it's like one man's descent into madness every Tuesday, Friday. Is that you just like I'll spend like the first, like this last episode was fantastic because of all the coronavirus stuff, we bugged out, not because of it, but like alongside it, like we bugged out to Oklahoma. The family and I went to a cabin. So the last episode that was recorded in the rain on a patio in a cabin in the woods in Oklahoma. And so I spent a good 20 minutes or so, like looking through recent results in the Highland Games, but like talking about how most of our season is canceled because of COVID and everything. And then I get through the logistics. And, but then after that, there's like another 40 minutes where I just I'm with my own thoughts. And that's real fucking dangerous or real fucking hilarious sometimes. Like, I don't know what I'm going to get. So, I was out of the studio, so I didn't have access to my bag of tricks. But Matt, you'll enjoy this as a musician. I also use it as an excuse to just write and put songs at the end of the show. Like I'll just something on topic. Like I'll just I'll use the stuff I have sitting around, usually just the guitar and voice, or like, and then I'll do some fun mixing or something like that. And I think one of them was one of the most recent ones was it was a song called "No One Cares." And it was sort of a calypso song about how little people actually care about how well you do in the Highland Games, and like how everybody gets really mad about it and throws tantrums. But it's actually no one cares. So it's definitely, I put a lot of artistic energy into that right now. So you can tell I'm excited on that one.
I don't even have words for what you've just said. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah. That's what I go for.
I admittedly
the podcast that I do a single person podcast for a single person that I've joked about a little bit on the show, but it's actually true. It's all legitimate. And I think in the last episode I did, which is a little too far back now, I feel bad about it. But I did describe it as this is just a recording of a slow moving mental breakdown of a person, just watching him fall to fucking pieces. And that has probably been my entire career in podcasting anyways, but when it's just me and I have to be the focus of all of it, that's when I really feel it. That's when I know
it's like each episode is like a data point on the graph of your mental health, basically. And like you can kind of track. So I hope that one day, especially with the Heavy Light podcast, that my kids can go back and they can say, where did it all go wrong? Like, why did we stop seeing him before we went to college? Like, where did he go?
Yeah, I think
get through that.
Mine is probably going to be how my wife gets power of attorney over me, and just
good call.
He can no longer make his own decisions. He's not well. Let's just diaper him up.
Can we pull the plug? Man, he's not even sick. He has a sore throat. There is no actual plug.
So since you mentioned the whole coronavirus and shit, and that's obviously something that we've been dealing with, you were at the Arnold and competed to 20 people?
It was 40, asshole.
It was 40. Okay. And I say that with all due respect because that was one of my favorite things to do was watch the Highland Games at the Arnold. So I can only imagine how fucking god awful that is for you to compete in front of nobody.
Well, yeah, especially when you're an egomaniac like I am, that makes it really tough to not have an audience. So what? Who? Yeah, but you know what? It actually turned out being cooler than I expected. So we went through this fucking roller coaster thing. You and I talked a little bit because you kind of make that pilgrimage all the time, just to come see me and Matt and to just enjoy the carnage. Yeah. And but we were kind of in touch about it. But it was originally like Throw Bros was my company was a sponsor of the Highland Games, the Pro Highland Games group. And we were going to be like, my business partner and I, Aaron, we were going to be on the microphone and like talking to the thousands of people in the crowd and interfacing, doing big up for the brand, all that kind of stuff you're supposed to do. And then all of a sudden we get, after we booked everything and spent all the money, that we get notification like, oh, they're shutting down the expo. Nothing's going to happen. So we start scrambling, trying to reverse reservations. Then just as we get those reservations reversed, they say, well, we're going to let spectators in after all. It's like, okay. So we go back in, get it all done. And then when I'm boarding the plane to leave, we get a notification that says no spectators, only athletes and families are going to be watching. So it's like, at this point, fuck it. I'm PoT committed, going all in, fine. But when the first day I didn't compete, we did a lot of video content for the pros. We tried to make the best of it, because what's the point of going on the microphone when it's just, other athletes and not a big crowd? We still did some, but it was, we got a lot of video content, supported the pros. And then, both days I competed the second day in the lightweight group, and it sucks not competing in front of like the biggest crowd of your life, like you would be there normally. But it is pretty neat still that you had a pretty supportive crowd of the other sports. Like, we had strongman there. You have Moss wrestling, which is like the wrestling where the two guys are pulling on the stick. And like, give me the stick. The other guy's like, no, I want the stick. And like, that's a pretty rad community. And then the second day there was a jiu-jitsu tournament, and there was an IBJJF tournament like right next to us. So we're all kind of trading fans back and forth. And it's real supportive. And the local news came out. I was actually on the news as the talking head guy for Highland Games, so that was really fun. And so there was a crowd. It was probably the kind of crowd we get at like a small Highland Games, basically, is what it turned out to. So it was still pretty fun. But yeah, it certainly does suck to think like, hey, I'm going to go do the thing that I like to do in front of like 20,000 people over the course of an hour or two, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope. Just gonna, you guys are basically gonna play the back room for your girlfriends. Basically, is what it turned into.
Yeah, it's a lot like being on this show, except for the girlfriends part. So that's the thing that I've been seeing is like Stephen Colbert and all these late night folks are now hitting at our level. Like there's nobody involved or watching at all. Like fucking vindicated finally. But you might show up on the Ocho. The Ocho is back now, and
dude, I've been watching the Ocho all day. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I need to. I only have I have an ESPN streaming subscription. I need to get back on there. What's amazing to me is you're going to see basically everything under the sun, but somehow Highland Games will not be back on there. It's the one thing they won't. Like I think they'll probably run one from the 1993, the one episode, the one thing they have, and then that's that's all the footage we got of guys in kilts.
We watched the hopscotch competition from street. 4th Street down the road and everything, and just like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw this down and see if anybody can do some rhymes during the double dutch. And
if I can bet on it, I'm fucking watching it. I mean, it's one of my favorite ESPN things is they have the National Cornhole Championship.
Fuck yeah!
Which of course it's like you start watching it and you're like, haha, that's hilarious, but then you're like on the edge of your fucking seat after a while. You're like, oh, fucking! He's just gonna airmail this one. If he airmails this, they're fucking set. He's right over the, he's right over the hole. He's set up. If he airmails, he's gonna put that one in. Like it's like everything turns into every stupid fringe sport turned into an intense experience for me.
There was the one night
because I go through the Go ahead.
I was gonna say the one night I ended up watching the Cornhole Championship. It was just like on, and I was like, oh fuck it, Cornhole's really funny, and I did really good at a work tournament once. I'll watch this. And then it's like 12:45 in the morning, and I'm like fucking on the edge. I'm like, my wife is asleep, and I'm in bed, and I'm like, holy shit! They're going airmail for airmail. I don't know what the fuck is going on. The next morning, I woke up. I figured out how to become. Yeah, I'm like, you gotta fucking see this. I figured out how to become a professional cornhole player. I found my region. I thought about it. It's like $20 a year. That's all you have to do to become a professional, and then you just go to the tournaments. I'm not even kidding.
What the fuck are we doing then?
Let's
Why are we even doing this right now? What the fuck are we doing?
Let's go.
Dude, me, fringe sports? You don't have to fucking twist my arm to get me into it. Is it a small enough pond where I can be a big fish? I'm fucking in, dude.
If you're into small ponds, we were watching the Euro Tram Championships. It is Euro Tram drivers who go on a course where the fucking Euro trains. So it's like 6 things. So the first one is they drive a tram. They get up to 35 kilometers per hour, and then they have to stop it as close to the cone as they can without hitting it. They run to another tram. One person, just wait, it gets better. So one person goes to drive the tram. The other person has to line up a passenger, and it has to be as close to the train without hitting it as possible. And then you get points based on how close it is. You run to another tram, and then you drive that motherfucker as fast as you can, and you hit a big ball into pins, and then the pins have numbers on them, and then you multiply that by 30 to get your score there, and then you run to another one, and then you have to line up the doors with an arrow. and then you run to another one, and then you just have to drive it as fast as you can to get over the finish line, and then run and hit a stop sign. That's a fucking sport. It's more of an activity.
4 trains on tracks total is what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5, something like that. It was amazing.
That's the most extravagant thing I've ever heard in my life.
Takes place in Belgium.
That is just an entire public transport system is just at the mercy of a tram competition. So they're trying to determine the best professional tram engineer.
Yep.
Or are these guys just specialists that just do the sport? Do they drive trams as their day job?
I assumed that their day job was driving a tram, and then they just got so fucking good at it that the Belgian people were like, let's make this a sport.
That is so Belgian.
Mm-hmm. So at 7, I think it's 7 o'clock tonight, is like the Japanese slippery stair championships on the Ocho. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. If we're not done, I'm just going to turn it on in here and watch it while we finish this.
I see no issue with that whatsoever.
I know. I was.
God, I need to get on it, man.
So
I need to start skulking around ESPN now.
This whole thing started because the National Brat Eating Championships from 2006 were on.
Sure.
And that was in Sheboygan. That's where I grew up. So like I still lived in Sheboygan at that time, and I remember everything, and I never watched it. And my wife is fucking blown away by this thing, and I'm like, well, that's where I'm from. So that then stemmed into an entire day of watching the Ocho, and then I was like, there's Tetris championships. They had frog jumping championships. I think she wants to go to California to watch the frog leap championships.
So that's where they have like actual frogs they've bred.
Yep.
They place them at a start point, and they have to. Mm-hmm. That was in a Mark Twain book, wasn't it?
Yes, that's where it came from, a Mark Twain book. They were very proud of that fact. There's also the the Cherry Pit Spitting Championships that takes place in Eau Claire, Michigan, Corey.
Yep. No, that one sounded familiar.
In several states, in Texas, one of them included, they have cow and buffalo chip throwing competitions that are thrown like a discus.
Yep.
They allow any throwing style you want, but discus tends to be the most successful because of the shape of the chip. So I found out about that from ESPN once. It's
less offensive to the cow.
Sure, yeah. Generally, the Bose genus is much more receptive to traditional track and field than it is other disciplines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you get to?
It's because they can't roller skate.
Do you get to pick and dry your own buffalo
Absolutely,
chip?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe you can't bring it to the field with you, but I think you have to choose one. You know, because you don't want somebody like doctoring up their chip and like putting cork in the middle, or like weighting it more would really do it. Like you put like a lead disc in the middle or something. You can't have that.
Oh,
you've been feeding Bessie ball bearings the whole week and just
and it's just waiting.
Oh my gosh, fringe sports are probably my favorite thing ever.
Oh God, who you telling?
What,
like,
right.
But yeah, like I really, and I have that gene in my body where anytime I watch one of those, I'm sure every dude does, but like when I watch cornhole or like cow chip toss, I'm like, I could fucking do that. I bet I could be a fucking pro at that. I bet I could go do that. And like, then you realize like, how much does a cornhole pro make? There's 2 guys that make $25,000 every year.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all there is.
I think if you want to be a fringe sport professional, eating is where it's at. Cause like, so for the brat competition, Kobayashi made $8,000 for eating 58 brats. Please keep in mind, 58 brats was like 7 days worth of sodium, like 16,000 calories or something. And like, as someone who you definitely take care of yourself, do you really want to stuff that much meat in your mouth?
No, I don't think I've eaten 16,000 calories this entire week. In fact, no. There's no way that I have.
They should combine that and like do the brats in your cornhole, because that I think is the competition we're missing out on.
I think you just do a butt joke. You just did a butt joke.
He did a butt joke.
Yeah, I might have. Also, I like the fact that if in an eating competition you might not make as much money, but you're getting fed the whole time, so that cuts into how much you'd have to spend out.
That's going to ruin.
True.
It's going to ruin.
Yeah, your food expenses cut for 2 days.
But right, but like I enjoy brats. I enjoy one brat like once a month.
Mm-hmm.
if someone's like, yeah, stuff 60 of these in your mouth for 10 minutes, I'm not going to fucking ever want to eat that again.
You're like, what is this, prom?
I just wonder if it's like if it's one of these situations for them though, where like, like it's like a gynecologist situation. Like they see the thing all day at work, but then they can like compartmentalize and come home and enjoy the one at home. That's the symbol that I'm doing. They can enjoy that. Could you do the same as a brat competition? Could you do that and be like, okay, you know what? I'm just shutting my brain off. I chug the water, I eat the brat, and then that's it. But then maybe they can cut into a nice one later. I don't know.
Right.
That's a really
good
way
quality
to put
brats.
Yeah, like the brat that you picked, not just one that was out there available in the festival scene.
That's a good point. I did eat a cheese curd stuffed brat because why not?
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
Yeah. How do you?
Why not?
I don't.
Besides heart disease.
Besides your inevitable slow death on a respirator, why not?
Fuck it, man. Why not? I mean, we're all going out soon anyway.
Well, I mean, it looks like we're all staring down death on a respirator anyway. So hey,
this is the exact reason that I moved to the middle of nowhere.
It's so that they can't get you to a hospital in time.
There's a hospital in it's like 20 minutes away. 10 if you're.
Hope I'm not having connection issues.
Uh-oh.
I feel like I am.
Oh no. Look at that fucking smolder right there, though.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we can just sit and look at him for the rest of the show, and that's fine with me.
I don't hate it. I paused the recording till he comes back.
I believe we lost Matt.
What? I'm here.
I see the both of you.
Yeah, I see the both of you too.
Yeah, I only see a very low res Corey right now. I'm gonna go get a beer while it's getting sorted out.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I just paused it and we'll wait till he comes back. Whew. I hope you're ready to talk about professional football when he comes back. It's just become the sports.
Hey, so I sent you a link to a movie or the IMDb page for a movie on Facebook last night.
What?
There's a movie.
Oh, you did.
That Aaron and I
was drunk
found.
Last night.
Yeah, and it was Saturday.
Oh, excuse me. I know it was. Yeah. Highway to Hell. How was it?
We only saw part of it because I wanted to wait and see if we could find it to do for the show.
Oh, let me.
At some point.
So
I was lying. I got 2 beers.
Oh, that's fine. I have this big ass bottle. Just trying to impress Beech. He's not even fucking
nice. I still only see a frozen grainy picture of Corey right now. I'm going to shift something on my Wi-Fi and make my computer the priority device for a little bit, and because my kids might be streaming. I don't know, fucking porn upstairs. So, hold on a second.
His tech talk is turning me on.
Okay, let's see if that starts to pick things up.
Yeah, we'll give it a minute. I see Corey moving.
Try to keep it low ball, though.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we didn't lose you. Skype is supposed to be switching to whoever is talking, but it's real fucking slow.
Yeah, I mean, I got basically no video. I have a grainy image of Corey and nothing from Matt. I see Corey move once every like 10 seconds.
That is about how often I move.
Oh, okay, well, then it's accurate.
I can also turn my video off, and maybe that'll help the stream a little bit.
Yeah, I don't even know if Beech can. Beech, can you hear me? I
can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just going to shoot you a
to
message. I don't know. God damn it. I don't know if you wanted to kill your video to try and save bandwidth, or if it's gotten better. I'm not entirely sure.
Beech's
I'm now
video is
seeing
definitely
you, but I don't see.
Yeah, Corey turned his video off.
Okay.
Because I think us not having
if you
video
guys aren't,
saves you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how important the video portion is to you guys content-wise, so I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I would rather you be able to hear us and talk freely than the video that 7 people will watch on YouTube be able to watch that.
Also, I think that we're going to double our numbers if they get to look at you as opposed to Matt and I, so that's why I'm fine with turning my video off.
There's that.
It's because I keep the camera far enough away so you don't get the details.
I mean, I enjoyed watching you walk away. Here, I'll turn my video off too, and then it'll only be Beech.
It's a lot of fucking pressure. Oh no, everybody's looking at me. Oh no.
Not the first. This is what you were bred for.
It's true.
I don't remember what were we talking about before I paused the audio.
I made a joke about you made a cheese curd brat mention, and Corey said dying of heart disease, and I said, well, we're all going to die on a respirator at this point anyway, so why not go for it?
Okay, so speaking of coronavirus and dying on a respirator, there are no new Taco Bell items. That was last week, so I do want to talk about NFL free agency this week, because that is literally the furthest thing from Corey's vernacular, and I think, Beech, you may have something to weigh in on it. And let's talk about fucking Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. Yeah. I just can't believe he switched sports to baseball. It's incredible. Wow. Let me break your heart a little bit here, Matt. I used to could talk a lot of football. I was super football fan, probably up until like 7 years ago. I was like commissioner of multiple fantasy leagues, watched every game that I could, Sunday ticket guy. I was a Cowboys fan because I was born there, not by choice. Like I was in, dude. And then just kind of out of nowhere, over the course of one season, I just stopped. I just don't watch football anymore. I couldn't name anybody that wasn't playing in that time period. I probably couldn't name them or know much about them. I know a little bit of Scuttlebutt because my son's into it. He's 11, but I'm so off the radar now. I think the NFL should do a case study on me, because if they're worried about losing viewers, like they lost a middle-class white dude, like from football forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like just,
who brought in 2 beers to do a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's well said, Corey. I will drink 2 beers doing a podcast about a horror movie by Disney, but I won't sit down on Sunday and watch a game anymore. Why? I can't give you a good reason. I don't have like a moral reason. I don't have like, oh, it's fucking stupid. I don't have anything. I just like, it just kind of stopped.
So I don't
I don't know how to do it.
And I don't blame you one bit. And by no means am I like a sports guy. I literally just thought it would be funny because Corey doesn't talk about sports, and normally we talk about Taco Bell.
Well, I'm siding with Corey. You're the asshole here. So how do you think about that?
It's not the first time I've been called an asshole.
It is pretty insane. So, did you hear the demands that Brady had when he was talking about getting traded? Did you hear about this is the one thing I'm kind of in on. He said he wanted control of the roster, or some control of the roster, input on the roster, and he wanted to be involved in the play calling.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is fucking Tom Brady. So
it is. Here's the grand experiment, right? And this is, I'm in touch enough to know this. The grand experiment is this. I actually think it's not a smart move for, what is he, 42 now? Yeah. Is that how old he is?
Yep.
Early 40s Tom Brady to not just retire and be the greatest of all time. Because now we have a situation where he's going to be removed from Bill Belichick's system.
Yep.
And he's extremely talented. I'm not saying he's not, but he's going to be removed from Bill Belichick's system, and he might get exposed for being a 42-year-old pocket passer in a league that has passed a lot of that by. And he could tarnish that legacy of his by going and being vulnerable and being part of a Buccaneers team that might get its nuts kicked off. Yeah, in the NFC East or not, the NFC South. That's a real risk. I don't get it. I don't get why keep going and why risk the legacy. If maybe he's just got like a Joe Montana in Kansas City fantasy where he's like, I'm going to show him that I'm the fucking best no matter where I go.
And I think that is a lot.
Isn't that kind of what happened to Jordan too? As far as
when he was to the Wizards,
right? Yeah. Is that he lost the luster? It wasn't just that he left the team. It was that he went someplace else and he didn't perform the same level. Like this, excuse my ignorance. As Matt stated, I'm obviously a big sports head, but
and it's valid. He wasn't like terrible at Washington. He just played a different role. Like he was definitely like a more range shooting guard. He wasn't like like an attack the rim kind of guy. He was a defensive wizard still, a wizard. But yeah, like it is kind of the same thing. I don't think Jordan tarnished his legacy as badly though, because he clearly was like he was part owner, or like he was I think he was a part like minority owner at that point of that club. And like I think it was just like he wanted to go and help, and he wanted to develop young players, and that was the framing of it. And so I don't know, but quarterback's a different deal, man. Quarterback of an NFL team is like you're it.
What? Not only
also
that,
the most decorated quarterback too, like the one who's got the most rings.
Absolutely.
Yep. But
absolutely.
So he was a quarterback for the Patriots, which means he was surrounded by fucking talent. A lot of talent. Now he's going to the Buccaneers, where they're not very good, and they had a really young quarterback who did fine, but he didn't really have a good season. So I really think that Beech, I think you're 100% correct, is he's going to fucking ruin his legacy because he's going to the Buccaneers. They're going to get just hammered. Brady's probably going to get fucking sacked multiple times a game because I don't think the defensive line is anywhere near as good as the Patriots, and that's whatever. For what? Like, just stop and go out. Mouth kiss your kids. It's fine.
But does this set him up to be the next coach, to be the next Belichick, as opposed to like as he moves his way out of playing the sport? Does this set him up to be like, well, I led this team, the Buccaneers, and maybe he doesn't make them the number one team, but maybe he at least improves them quite a few spots on the roster? Is that then going to be where he says, now I can come in and coach, and people actually believe in that aspect of it, and it's not just, oh, he's the pretty-faced quarterback, but he's actually lead these things?
I think that's a potential angle for sure. I would say that would give you some qualifications, right? To not just be like a great quarterback in a great system and say like, hey, I got play calling and roster responsibilities and I made something out of it. Sure, I think you could do that. But if you notice, there's not like an influx of superstar players that go to coaching. And I think the reasoning is that the money is just not worth it for them.
Right.
Like when they're out, they're out. And I think like superstar, best in the world kind, like the tens of millions of dollar contracts set up. Like they don't tend to go to coaching later on. They tend to go to commentating or broadcasting, or they just flat out retire, or they open a I don't know, vegan shoe line, or what the fuck ever Tom Brady's going to do now. Like you know what I mean? Like I get what you're saying. He would be set himself up for one. Maybe he's going to be a paradigm breaker or whatever, but it just doesn't seem the past doesn't show that that's like the path for guys like him.
Well, but that's what I was picking up from what you were saying about what his requests were to go to that team is the things he wanted. It sounds more like he wants to be looked at as having that kind of leadership talent, as opposed to, and which is obviously the quarterback has a leadership talent too, but how he wants to kind of leverage that into something more. And that could still go to commentating, but I don't know. The way that you made it sound, it seemed like that makes more sense as a path to me.
Maybe he wants to be a GM. Maybe he wants to be like, more of a front office, like player, like, like football operations GM kind of guy too. And maybe that's more what he's looking to do. He doesn't want to be on the field, the fucking headset on.
And what's going to make his wife happy too? Because, she's obviously got to be at a point where they could both be retired and sitting pretty for a long time, literally, be okay. And like, where did she want them to settle down, and how does this factor into their relationship?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Those two just have a lot of tough decisions ahead of them, I know, and I really feel for them. Yeah,
exactly. Those kids have been struggling so hard for so long.
I just hope they can find their way in this world, I'm pulling for them. I love a good underdog story.
Yep.
It'll be interesting
and that's
to see.
Really what this whole conversation was about, was for me to show Matt up and say, hey, fuck you, I know all about this stuff.
Oh, I know.
You picked like the one, Matt, you picked the one where both of us can actually be like, actually.
It also shows how little I actually pay attention to football, because the only thing that I could mention was the biggest football news that happened. And there's nothing else happening. So if you pay any sort of attention to any sort of sport when no one is fucking playing, that is the one thing that to take away from it, is the fact that Brady left the Patriots.
Well, it's about looking smart, not being smart, Matt. And I think you've nailed that down.
Thank you very much. That is how I've gotten to where I've gotten in my life. Just say a lot of big words and talk in circles.
Matt,
I know
they
give that
big Taco Bell news this week.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the big Taco Bell news this week is that they're offering free delivery through Grubhub.
So what's really exciting is the fact that Grubhub, there are 5 restaurants that now deliver to my house. No one has ever delivered to my house before, because we live so far.
Simultaneously?
Maybe we'll see. But no one has ever delivered to my house before because we live so far outside of town. Now 5 of them do. We're living in the future, guys.
It's like The Bachelor, but for food.
It really is.
They're gonna compete for y'all's affections out there in the sticks.
I'm gonna order from all 5 of them, and the first 4 to show up get a rose.
Get a rose. No, a cheese curd kielbasa. Yes. A cheese curd.
That's gonna. He says that out loud, and that's gonna stop people from coming anywhere near his house.
Will you accept my cheese stuffed meat stick, please? Sir, just take your nachos, please.
And we're not living in the future. We're living in the dystopian future. The person who brings your Grubhub food is going to be Kevin Costner, and he's just going to show up in a duster and just like with a shotgun on his back.
Nice.
No.
The great thing about Kevin Costner is, though, depending on which Kevin Costner movie you pick, that whole scenario is way different. Like, like Waterworld's Kevin Costner. That'd be cool if he showed up. What about like Bull Durham Kevin Costner? That'd be fucking cool. He'd probably want. He'd share a brat with you.
He would.
Yeah.
I just watched Bull Durham the other night too with my wife. Fuck, what a great movie, dude. God, that movie is. You rank that very squarely under movies that would not get a green light at all from any studio now. Just, hey, what are they gonna do? I'm just gonna fucking talk philosophically about baseball, and then it's gonna be shitty minor league footage. Oh yeah, for sure. Let's put $7 million in that.
Mm-hmm.
What
the fuck? We
no chance I get paid.
Did you see the video that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost did for what is currently happening in our world?
No.
It's the conversation that they have about what they're going to do with the zombie apocalypse, and then there's I can't specifically remember the joke that they made, but when that movie came out, it was acceptable, and now it is not acceptable. So in this video that they made about COVID, they like explain how, well, back in when this came out in the first place, this was okay, and now it's a little off color, and like I think it's fucking weird. Think of any movie, like any of the Adam Sandler movies. Even I watched Idiocracy for the first time in a while earlier this week. Yeah. None of that shit would fly anymore. Like, it's unfortunate that we've now gotten to that point, but I'm really happy to have come up with movies where they would make a lot of off-color remarks, and it just didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and the biggest one that always sticks out to me now, especially in my generation, is how casual joking about being gay was, or like saying like a fairy or things like that. Like that was much more part of the vernacular and much more accepted. And like I think I'm okay with the change overall. I think less marginalized people is probably good, but it is kind of strange. It wouldn't fly now. And the other thing, I guess, more what I was thinking with Bull Durham was. Like the saying, like in movies, talk is cheap. Mm-hmm. Like, and literally for directors, like it's just costs less money to have dialogue instead of fucking effects and big shots and stuff like that. And it's definitely one of those movies, and you don't get a lot of those from big studios anymore. It's just the algorithm for how to make $1 billion on a movie does not involve fucking sitting around a dining room table talking about shit. For the most part, it does not. And right. I was just thinking about it that way. It was like this magic combination of them, of like kind of the objectification of women, general like dude kind of a fucking locker room humor, and then just straight dialogue and like boring travelogue and like baseball chat, like high-minded baseball. It just would never fucking get done because like, that'll make $70 over a weekend in 2020 because it's got all the things from the 80s and 90s that we could get away with, I guess.
The other thing is the 90s really gave us dialogue-heavy movies that the dialogue was so good that it's hard to keep up with something like that. If you have a room of sitting around talking heads kind of thing, and they're not talking with a Kevin Smith dialogue for comedy or a Quentin Tarantino dialogue for that kind of dramatic kind of mob hipster feel, or Scorsese, going back to even Goodfellas, when you get those would-be mobsters sitting there and talking, and so much of that is like the inside baseball of mob stuff.
It is.
That's the thing. Yeah. Is like, if you got people just sitting around talking and it's not fantastic, then we really pick up on it fast, and our expectations are a lot higher.
You know what my theory is about that is? I just came up with. What was cool about movies like that, like Bull Durham is a good example in the baseball world, and Goodfellas is a great example. You could point to other Scorsese movies as well, but the ones that you gave the example of is they're kind of in that era. They're blowing the lid off something that people find fascinating and interesting, because the directors and the writers went into those worlds and kind of dug out. Even the actors used to do it. That was how we got this whole myth of, the method actor, the Pacinos and people like that live and go into it, that dig in and blow the lid off of that, so we can, because you always heard about the mob, but you had no idea like what the mob structure was. And Goodfellas literally tells you, like, here's a boss, here's a made guy, here's a capo, here's a lieutenant, like all that kind of stuff. It blows the lid off it. I think that blowing the lid off doesn't happen in the movies anymore because of the advent of the age of information, because of internet, because of the availability of information. That now I think spectacle moves more to the front. And that spectacle and social commentary those are always going to be big. But there is no like, oh, that's what it's like on the bus in a minor league baseball team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I think you've seen it a lot, and the lid's been blown on a lot of these situations.
I think the last example that I can think of was probably The Social Network. You got Aaron Sorkin's dialogue, and something as fascinating as the weird robot kid who created Facebook, and how he has disdain for the rest of humanity. It's just like, and there's no factualness to it at all, but it doesn't matter, because it's like, yeah, but I can believe that is what Zuckerberg is like. And
it kind of blows the lid off the tech world. Yeah. It blows the lid off the tech world, like that tech, the venture tech world that exists out there, like, because that's what was like, we just gotten past the .com bubble 10 years before. And like, that was still a mystery. It's like, how the fuck do you build an app and make $1 billion? And then that finally kind of showed you through fiction, through a, dramatic, historical fiction, let's call it, an approach to this. How are we going to, hey, Matt, are you formulating the tie-in to Bride of Boogedy yet? Or should we start?
Eventually when this winds down, we'll just say, hey, let's talk about Bride of Boogedy.
Fucking brilliant.
So, Beech, have you seen either of the documentaries about the Fire Festival?
Ooh.
No, I have not. I'm very aware of the guy that was ready to suck dick. I know all the, I know the memes, but I've never actually.
Real quick,
I never saw it.
Before we get too far away, Corey, and we can talk about the guy who's going to suck dick shortly, but I just wanted to say the whole fact that the internet, everything's so readily available, kind of ties into the fringe sport stuff that we were talking about earlier. Any sort of fringe sport coverage you see is like pre-2010, 2012, when Facebook kind of blew up and everything, and it just stopped fucking being, because I don't need to watch ESPN to watch Highland Games. I can just watch Mike Beech do the Highland Games on his Instagram, which is great and also terrible, because now the wall is fucking down. So to kind of illustrate how we got to this point, how I became friends with you and Matt, I met Matt on a street in Ohio at the Arnold, and then I was just like, fuck it, I got too drunk one night, I'll message him on Instagram. And then he came on the show, and then we kept talking, and then I became friends with you, and now we're here. Pre-2010, that never would have happened. So I think and that's the thing where a famous person makes a comment, and then you have the backlash of 80,000 people that all plays into where we're at. And it's both good and bad. Like, it's really nice that I can just go on the internet and see what is happening worldwide with what is currently happening. But ignorance is fucking bliss, and I don't necessarily need to understand. Like, I don't want to know what's going on in Italy, because it is terrible and sad, and it's soul crushing, because that could start to happen here. So it's like, it's almost better to just not know, because I can't.
Well, it's also 16,000 miles away, and at a certain point, like, it's much more worth your energy to worry about what's happening in your community.
Yes, but not
everyone. When you're talking about a global pandemic, I understand there's a certain level of insulation that's important, but like, it's probably more important to know what's going on, I don't know, within 5 miles of me.
Yes. Yeah. It's more important for me to understand what is happening in my state than what is happening in Italy, because not only is my state closer to me, or my county, but certain people don't compartmentalize correctly. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. There's some certain amount of I'll deal with it when it becomes a problem. So someone my wife works with, she works for a worldwide company with a fuckload of people. So this is like 2 people removed. But the guy emailed his team and said, like, oh, I'm having all these symptoms, and they're the symptoms. And she had seen someone who works with this guy. So there was like a 12-hour period where she was like, well, fuck, like, did I touch, the person who would have been in contact with him? Like, do we have to worry about this? And then the next day he was like, oh, my doctor told me not to worry about it. But I couldn't be like, don't worry about it until it's time for something. Like, don't worry about it until we have to worry about it. It's just, that's kind of how everything is. And it's like, you see what's going on, like you said, 16,000 miles away, and people get really bent out of shape. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be concerned or act on it. I'm just saying, like, maybe don't worry too much until it's something to actually be worried about.
Well, I think the word that sticks out to me is like actionable data is what's important.
Yes.
Getting information that says like, hey, wearing a mask in crowds or keeping a social distance from people is showing that it actually works. That's what you need to do. Okay, that's actionable. You're telling me, here's what I can do. I will take that action. I will do it. I will take that recommendation because you're smarter, wiser, more well-researched than I am. Yep. But me choosing to just worry does nothing. And that's a unique problem that some people and some personality types have, is that they expend energy through worry. That's not my personality type. Sounds like it's not yours either.
Right.
But some people, they expend their energy through worry and kind of playing out scenarios in their head and trying to worry is like an attempt to control the future, I think, in some ways. And like thinking that like if I remain stressed about it, that means I'm going to be vigilant. And I think those can get very quickly crossed up. I think vigilance is great. I think worry and anxiety sometimes sneak in the door with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the guy that you're talking about. I have compound anxiety. It basically,
there you go.
It's just anxiety from a bunch of different things, and they all come together and they twist around, and it's like a big fucking Twizzler of anxiety that's going right up my butthole. But I completely agree with you, which is the fact is that while we can have empathy for Italy, we can have empathy for China, we can't personally do anything about it. What we can do is we can learn from it. It's the unfortunate thing is that we don't have that point right now where a lot of us feel that we're getting the best information because of things like Facebook, because people just like see a story, click a story, share a story, and maybe never even actually read the story to find and verify the sources of it. And they're just like building this whole fucking rollerball of anxiety for everybody else with a whole bunch of false information. And so it's like there are the people who are, oh, I'm freaked out all the time. I'm always up at like level orange. And then there are other people who are like, this is all bullshit, and they're just trying to manipulate to feel this way. So I'm going to react the opposite of what they're asking me to do. And it's this middle area for a lot of us. It's like, I have to look out for myself. I have to look out for my family and the people around me in my community. Like you said, you have to think locally first, but we still have to get that information globally to be able to utilize it locally. And if we don't trust the information that we're getting globally, like the problem with China is the fact that China was lying to their own people about it. So they screwed it up from the very beginning. But we're at a very heavy distrust of the media here in the United States right now, and for the last 10 years or so, at least, that I can think of. And it's pretty bad that you don't trust the people who are the only ones who can really feed you that information. So then you do go online and you do say, well, because of this great mediator of like, I can talk to somebody across the country and listen to them, that's good. But again, only if that source is verifiable. And if it's just some rando who's like a bunch of conspiracy groups lined up and like grabbing every single thing and sending it out, then that's not the person you want to listen to. But it's harder for you to know than it is for these big organizations who have to build a state of trust with people first to start giving you all that stuff. You know, you have to kind of go off the fact that it's illegal for people to just, or at least it used to be kind of illegal and definitely immoral for a news person to just say shit off the top of their heads or scream fire in a theater and like, that kind of stuff is it's hit a gray area. And so who do you trust now? That's where it's really concerned.
That trust got broken, like you said. I mean, I think several events you can point to in our Western history that kind of broken that trust in the past couple of decades, in the past couple of generations. But as you're saying that, the big thing that sticks out to me is the thing I'm most thankful for is during my education, not just the ability to think critically, but the ability to be able to look at a source or look at information and view that critically and vet that information. Right. I think that's something that is, I'm thankful I had the opportunity that I had, the privilege in life to have the education that I had. I think if anything that we come away with this is that, yes, it would be great if school could be more uniform, less about standardized testing and more about that critical thinking. But I mean, as we raise a new generation of humans, and as we build social networks with people across the world, just doing the best we can to reinforce that kind of thinking is really all that's going to save us. Because it's, until you have people that can click and view and consume content beyond their most base desires and their most base urges, which can be, fear, greed, lust, anxiety, until people can consume content based on things other than that, we're going to be in trouble. But if you can get a generation of people that can just say like, hey, I noticed that the guy that published that article actually works for the industry that says it's okay. Like, learning little stuff like that. Like, hey, that guy that said that smoke won't kill you, he actually works for the cigarette company. That seems strange, so. I think the more of that we can do, and that's why I'm a big proponent of, again, I start with I'm going to give that to my family. I'm going to give that to my people. And then if they interact with the kids and the families around them and they spread that outwards and we spread that outwards to the next centric circle of people, well, if it gets out to my whole neighborhood, that's another win. If it gets out to my city, if like 100 more people start thinking that way or living that way or think that's a cool way to be, that's another win. That's all you can do. You can't post a status. You can't tweet about it unless you're, got a huge platform. I guess you can make a difference. You can't make a 60-second Instagram video to do it. It starts literally like where you're sitting within the radius of you to other people, which is, currently now, 6 feet?
Yeah, no closer then.
But that's also the problem that I have is that I have been friends with incredibly intelligent people that I have a lot of trust in. But it's so easy to say, hey, here's this meme that kind of sums up how I feel right now, and whether or not I fact checked it, I just can re-click share it, and I'm boosting this idea. Yep. And it's like, but you're my authority for these things. You're the person that I would look to give me some relevant information. And when you are the one who's not meeting your and I've definitely done that as well. That's why I kind of hate memes and have developed a distrust of social media overall in the last couple of years, is because it's so easy to just like click and send without thinking about it, because that's what these things are built on, is that we just perpetuate not real conversation, not real intellectual thought, but just keep shoving shit out there. And how much can we manufacture that people keep clicking through and scrolling and all these things? And so it's a bummer, because these are people that I know and I trust. And if I sat down in a room with them and had a conversation, we would get somewhere. But I'm not sitting in a room with them. I'm sitting on a screen, and people can say whatever they want in front of a screen and not feel like there's a consequence to it. And what we're feeling right now is the consequence.
Well, and content is king, right? And that's, I think, in times like this where there's a fast news cycle and there's a lot of content and there's a lot of info, I think people that create content for a living or a hobby, like yours truly, you have a strong temptation to just keep things pushing out into the ether and keep things going. Mm-hmm. But this also, it made me think, as you were saying that, so like, Matt, do you think during this whole COVID-19 scare, do you think your social media ingestion, not your participation, but your ingestion of it has gone up, gone down, or stayed the same?
Oh man, I want to say it stayed the same to an extent. Now I'm working from home, so if I want to disconnect from working briefly, I can get up and just go walk around my house or go talk to my wife. So instead of sitting in my office and now staring at Facebook to pass some time, I'm going and interacting with my wife or just watching TV. But I do know that I am looking at Facebook to try for the local news sites to see like the new COVID numbers and kind of how that's spreading within my state. Not so much nationally, but I'm just waiting to see it kind of level out in my state. So,
okay, yeah, but I would guess, having worked an office job as well, that it's probably lowered by quite a bit because when you're in an office, you rely on it like a crutch, you know?
Yeah,
like
and that's the thing. It
feels more time than you believe.
Yes, it's hard for me to say because I don't know. I don't think I left, like, when I'm in the office, I'll leave Facebook up all day. And I'll just switch tabs.
Yeah.
At home, I don't think I'm doing that because I have a TV next to me. So the room I'm currently sitting in is where I'm also working in. So if I want to not do work, I can just look at this TV and watch a cartoon or a TV show. So I don't need something on a computer screen that is going to disconnect me from work when I can just turn right and watch something new. So I think it's very likely that it is lower, but I haven't really thought about it.
Well, and I ask, obviously, I ask because I've thought about it myself. And and I've been asking everybody that question lately. Mine, for some reason, I can't really, I don't know why it's happened, has gone incredibly down. Now, if you follow me, you'll notice that I'm still putting stuff out. I'm still posting. I'm still doing like stories and stuff like that. Like I make money doing some of this stuff. So I'm going to continue to do that. But my ingestion has gone massively down, 75% or more. Like when I'm done with the phone, I put it the fuck down right now. I don't know what it's something in this news cycle or the way people are acting. And maybe, like I've called it out before, in my particular industry, like in the near the fitness and strength and conditioning industry, has been really gross to me. And the way that a lot of people in my network and the people that I'm connected to have acted has just been off-putting to me. And this was one of the first times I was like, nah, I don't want to fucking do it. I'm done. I don't want to fucking do it. And that may be just unique to where I sit with my network. I don't know.
To your point, there's I have been looking to Instagram a lot more because I don't have a gym to work out in. So I'm trying to find ways to do the movements with less weight at home and kind of looking for ideas that way. Now, granted, I've been getting a shitload of emails from On It and Muscle and Fitness and stuff like that kind of give you things to look at. But I agree with what you're saying. There's also the same stroke where if I go on Facebook and I see people that are like, well, this is fucking August now. We're gonna be doing this for the next 18 months, and it's just like, fucking stop. I'm like, until someone of authority says this is gonna be a problem for 9 to 18 months, which I'm not saying someone hasn't, but I think too often people see something that isn't legitimate and they take it and they run with it and then they just start to spew it on other people. Like I had in our band group text, one of the guys sent me something and it was a picture of a text message and it said, oh, they're rolling the fucking National Guard. We're going to be on martial law. We're all on lockdown. And I said, until a fucking military uniformed officer shows up at my house, I am not worried about that. I said, you're the third person to send me this exact same text. I do not believe that is fucking true. Earlier today, my wife said, all of the uniform officers that they're rolling out were for legitimate purposes. They were trying to get something somewhere in a timely fashion, and that's the only reason that uniform officers were involved. Like, yes, what we're dealing with is fucking insane, and it is scary, and it can be a real problem. But a lot of people are doing what they're supposed to do and staying home. Sorry, go ahead.
And it's weird that that's an outgrowth of boredom of all things. That some people have to create this new narrative. They have to create a story. They have to create a thing that they got the first scoop on that they're into. Like people can't stand more than anything to feel like they're the passive observer in the Godzilla movie. Mm-hmm. Like nobody wants to be that. And like nobody wants to be the one screaming and running. Like they don't think of themselves that way. But statistically, that's what we all fucking are. Yep. No matter how important you are in your social media circle, no matter how important you are in your house, whether you're the head of your household or whatever, like we're all statistically average, okay? And nobody wants to think that, and nobody wants to be that. They want to think that they have something that somebody else doesn't have, or they know something that somebody else doesn't know. And that's what's leading to a lot of the, like I mentioned, like the ickiness in my circle, in this fitness circle, is like there's so many people that like the second this starts taking over everybody's lives, they'll start hawking their fucking supplement that they think is going to boost your immune system to help you against a fucking virus that they don't understand. And then they're going to be like, well, and then everybody starts writing and monetizing a fucking workout from home plan or something like $7.99, link in bio, but it's fucking gross. And I can say that being 40 years old now and not giving a fuck. I'm not trying to make money as a fitness influencer. I'm not trying to make money as a personal trainer. I don't need, it's worth it to be in my position and just say it's fucking gross and stop trying to monetize something that's killing old people and children. Please stop it. Like, don't do that anymore. And it's that same line of thought of like, they have to have something figured out that makes them, that validates where they are and what they're doing. Like, and just like the guy that like, oh, I got some friends who are cops and I know what's really going on. No, you fucking don't, dude. You work at Wells Fargo.
I mean, it's a really good point though. And like, as you mentioned, head of household, and it's like, I feel like my job as head of household, and my wife and I are very equal, and I never, I'm like, I'm the man, I'm fucking strong. But it's like, at times where she is panicked or something, I feel it is my job to calm her down. Whether that's head of household or just being a fucking decent husband. And other than that,
being a spouse, that's being a good spouse, dude.
Yeah. And that's all I'm here for, and I'm trying to find the correct information for the situation and going from that. I haven't seen any monetized like body weight workouts, but it doesn't shock me one bit that someone is trying to capitalize on that. I also spend very little time. I spend very little time looking at workouts because I'm about the fucking laziest lifter that exists. You can tell because I'm probably overweight. Not probably, I am overweight. Whatever. I fucking, like you said, dude, I'm a normal dude who works in IT in the Midwest. I am not a fitness person. I work out to feel a little better. I'm not making money off of this.
Yeah.
But I talked about this with Levi last night too. There is something to be said for that person might be in the same situation as the rest of us where they're freaked out and they're trying to find their clarity in all of this. And their clarity may be, I do this workout, it makes me feel better, even if it doesn't do anything. And that's the thing, is you don't make claims of like, this is going to change your fucking life, it's going to save you from this virus. But you just say, this is what I'm doing, but this is how I do it. And if it's your career already that you do sell workout stuff or you do sell supplements and those things, you can't suddenly stop your career in the midst of this. You just have to lead with honesty and empathy. I think we talked about that last week, is that if you're a person who has a Patreon and that's how you make your living, you can't stop saying, please support my Patreon, but you just have to do something where you say, hey, I recognize that right now is a really hard time for you to support somebody else.
Yep.
You might be at a point where you need support, and I completely understand that. If you have the ability and you want to help support me during this time, great. And if you can't, I really appreciate all the stuff you've done for me so far, and hopefully when we all get through this, things will start to even out again, and you'll come back to do it again. But we still have to accept that life has to go on, and for a lot of people, life is really scary right now. So the restaurants that are not able to employ people and are just doing stuff like pickup and delivery, it's scary for them, and they're still at least getting to be open, and that could change in a day's notice. The grocery stores that are 24 hours in my area are now closing at 10 o'clock at night.
Same here.
And it's not that big of a deal to me, but for the people who basically live in the nighttime because they work so far into the day or evening, and that's how they function, it's very difficult. And so I don't want to demean anybody who's trying to continue their living. Just do it with integrity, because if you don't have integrity, then there's no reason for us to support you in the good times either.
Well, and that's the thing.
You suck to what you were doing in the first place if you don't do it with integrity. And just don't, like you're saying, to rejoin it with you, Corey, don't capitalize on people's fears.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. I know people are going to do it, but if you're my friend or somebody I associate with, please don't fucking do it, because we're not going to associate anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to call you out on it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you guys want to talk about Bradys Boogedy or?
No, I don't. No,
okay,
no.
That's fine.
God, man.
No, that's fine.
God.
Hey,
you guys ever shop? You guys ever shop on Wish?
What? Shop on Wish?
Yeah, Wish the app.
It's an. I'm the only one with video, so I'm gonna hold this up to the camera right now. I just got an ad for. It took me a while to figure out what it is. If you're not familiar with Wish, I mean, there's definitely an adult theme to a lot of the ads and stuff you get, if you haven't noticed. This appears to be a warm-up bag for your balls.
Which is sometimes necessary.
Yeah, sometimes. I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I can see the utility for that. But it's like, it's warm-up pant material with drawstrings, and it's like you remember like in what was it? Like the that Gummy Bears cartoon where they would like, like the bag of whatever they would have, like the fucking drugs they would take.
They had the Gummy Bears.
Meth. Yeah, like they would always have it in a little pouch like that, like a little flask, and I feel like that's what they're selling. But it's a gummy berry juice. Yeah, it's your bag of holding. I'm such a fucking loser for knowing what that is. Yeah, see? Yeah. He could have more than his balls in there, right?
Corey, Levi wants us to make those with the Podcast of Terror logo on them. I'm into it.
Of course we can.
Freaking, of course we can.
I regret saying this immediately, but the only person I know who has the talent to actually make stuff like that would be Amy. And I don't want to ask Amy to do that.
Well, the thing is if we can get them print on demand.
Wait, Corey, you're the guy that just said in this time of need you can't fault people for trying to make their living.
No, I don't fault Amy if that's what she decides to do. I don't want to be the one to ask her to do that.
She wants to make gummy berry juice ball sacks with a Podcast of Terror logo on it. Nobody can judge her for that.
No, I would never judge her. No, absolutely not. But I'm not bringing that to her doorstep.
Yeah, I'm not mentioning that one either.
Maybe just write like an anonymous letter or something.
Nope. That's a little too 23 years in prison Weinstein for me. I don't need
that. Sorry, Matt, I interrupted you, but that ad came up and I just had to.
No, that's fine. That is 100.
Make sure that got into the conversation.
No, that was very relevant. I thought maybe it was now a good time to transition to the movie. We don't have to talk about it. This movie was not good. It was just, I felt like it was a formality to have you come back on because we had watched Mr. Boogedy and then this one.
And then this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I watched the majority of this, and I can't say that I watched it all because I'm a fundamentally lazy person.
You're fine. It's fine.
But does anybody else feel like the quality was way better than the original Mr. Boogedy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it was like a big step up. Like it's still stupid, and there's plenty of like I can sit there like fucking Tom Servo and rip it apart, right? But it's like okay, yeah, all right, it's moving a little better, like it's written a little better, like it's shot a little better. It's a totally acceptable like Friday night television fare in 1988 or whatever. It doesn't seem so campy.
The first Mr. Boogedy was 1986. This one was 1987. Most of the cast returned. They changed the daughter, who was played by Christy Swanson in the first one.
Yes, which was a big disappointment for me. But Christy Swanson was moving on to bigger and better things.
And the girl that's in this was also in Wishmaster. She's done a lot of stuff. She'd been in a lot of TV. She was on Mork and Mindy as a regular character for a year or two. So she's great. And the younger son, we went from the kid from Alf to being the kid from Harry and the Hendersons. Which came out, I think, that same year. But a lot of this was the returning people, and they didn't have to do what they did in the first one, which was establish the family, the characters, the house, all these things, the moving in to get you to understand Boogedy. But it's also weird because these things appear a year apart on that Wonderful World of Disney show. I don't remember there being a huge push of these on video cassette at that point. So it really was, if you saw it 1 year, that's probably the only time you saw it because there wasn't a Disney Channel at that time. And then the next year they do a sequel to it, and it's like, man, the dedicated fan who watched this last year and is back to watch this sequel now and remembered the whole story from the first one to do the second one, that's a belief system. That is
yes, really it is, and I can't even imagine that the writer remembered what he wrote. Like, he probably had to go back and watch. It was like, that fucking thing? That was like, you told me I needed to write something by April, so I wrote it. What the fuck do you want me to write another one for?
But he worked with enough pros that they kind of came in and remembered their characters and put the same stuff back. That same laugh of the mom over and over again, the dad just being the ridiculous jokester. Yep. I mean, he's from The Thing. He's done a ton of shit. She's done a ton of stuff. She's on that mom show on CBS now. The Eugene Levy, who's a master of his craft, obviously. The guy from Ghost who says, "You ain't got a body no more." That guy is in this. Like, there's so many people that, like, they're pros. And it worked out. I don't know that it's necessarily a great movie, obviously, but it was perfectly in line and, like you said, maybe even a little bit ahead of where the first one was.
It did what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
It did all that stuff, and I do agree with you. The exposition was quick, but it was also like quick and effective. Like you like, what's the litmus test for like this kind of sequel? Like, can you watch it without seeing the first one? Absolutely, you can.
Yeah.
Because they just basically they just retcon or like create a new backstory or a further backstory for Mr. Boogedy or whatever what's his actual name? Does anybody remember? Hold on, I've got it in front of me here somewhere. Yeah, but whatever the actual guy's name was. I can't remember who it was, but like they just create a further backstory and then just go from there. So high points for me early on in the exposition phase, by the way. The name of the city,
Lucifer Falls. Yes.
Falls. Little on the nose, but okay. It was. We got a pretty good idea, and then everybody's just cool with like, yeah, that's where we're moving. Well, we just got done sucking a ghost into a vacuum. Mm-hmm. Let's move to Lucifer Falls.
Well, not only that, but the name of the town festival is Lucifest, which is like something I would expect to see in Norway with a bunch of black metal bands playing.
Right, I'd buy a fucking ticket to that, right?
Yeah, I would go all day.
Especially if I got to slap a little fake third eye disc on my forehead, like
oh my god.
With a real third eye. Yeah, but again, actually that's interesting because I could also see that being a part of a Norwegian black metal festival. Is the like, get a free third eye henna tattoo or something like that, like it would totally fit in with that. So there are some tropes in this though, which again, we're dealing with Disney movie fare, right? But there are some tropes that, even while admiring how well put together this was for, a sequel to a pretty terrible, goofy movie, like there's still some tropes that are just it's like so hard to get past as somebody watching even like silly horror. Is like that the daughter is like accosted by the Mr. Boogedy ghost on the way back home, and this is like a year later, and nobody at the house believes her when she says it.
Right? Yeah, you're full.
They're all like, yeah, what he must be histrionics or whatever. Like it's like that's a little lazy. I'm sorry.
Although this is a family that builds their entire relationship off of pulling tricks on each other.
Yeah.
And she's the only one who doesn't have that gene, it seems like. She's the only one who's always rolling her eyes like, please stop fucking doing this. Don't you understand that we almost died and we're going to die possibly this time? But everybody else in the family is all full of shit all the time. They're just constantly like, they do the dribble glass trick to her. They do the black eye thing with the look through the scope to Eugene Levy's character in a store. Like that's what they're built around. So they're skeptics. They're constant skeptics, but they're skeptics who enjoy the fact that they're having to be skeptical because they like to be fooled when it works, but they will call you out immediately like, no, you're full of shit. Do better next time. Try a little harder. Yeah, sure, Dad's floating down the hallway. Who cares? That's the kind of shit. It's like, I get why they don't believe her, but it is very much the trope of a lot of horror movies. It's like, we don't trust the kids. Fuck them.
Right.
Two of them could die and we'd still be okay. Nobody would look at us twice.
Right, because the third one is still probably full of shit, even if the other two are dead. Well, and it gets so, like one of the things, like I've never claimed to be a true horror buff, but one of the things I look for in almost any work and any film, and especially in horror, is I like there to be elements of the classics, and I like there to be elements of classical drama or draws on literary devices, familiar or complex, whatever, like to draw on like, or to like great ones use a lot of times mythology. They'll use mythological monsters or reference to them and stuff like that. So you'll see a lot of that classical, but in this movie you can just tell like there's no foundation from what I can tell. There's no like, there was actually a colonial monster named blah, blah, blah. And like we draw our inspiration from that because that can sort of be like an engine that drives your story. I feel like this is, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you guys can set me straight on this. I just feel like this entire fiction, this entire story was just manufactured whole cloth in the editor's room. Does that make any sense what I'm saying there? That there's no like classical draw here? There's no like something they're pulling from?
Well, the first one was just your classic haunted house story. And that's so many different things. You go back to the one that I remember loving as a kid was The Ghost of Mr. Chicken with Don Knotts. You know, but it's more of a Scooby-Doo thing in that case because it's not actual ghost. In this, there was a ghost. Disney's going all out and saying, we're doing that. But that's in line with they're doing the Headless Horseman, those sorts of things that they've always done. It perfectly goes in line with that because they want to create a character. They want to create a bankable, marketable thing that they can use in their theme parks. If Mr. Boogedy had showed up at the Haunted Mansion at some point, you would see that working for them. You could see Disney doing that and saying, hey, Mr. Boogedy really took off, and now we're going to use him in this ride right next to Mr. Toad's. You know, Mr. Toad's is not a popular character, to us at least, but it was a big deal enough for them to make a ride around it for a long time because it was something that they created and owned. Disney, for a lot of their stuff, didn't own the things, but they were public domain. They could do it. This is like we're creating IPs. Until they bought Marvel and Star Wars, that's what they had to do.
Right. So, more in reference, like trying to dig in deeper in that hole, it's like, you know, the classic movie monsters, like, you know, they'll like, you know, your vampire, your Dracula, your Frankenstein, your mummy. A lot of these are, one, they pull on very, very human themes, and that's what makes the original authors, you know, the Shelley and Stoker and all that. That's what makes them so, what makes the original work so good is that they draw on like these very, very human fears and very, very human things that we have found mysterious for thousands of years. And like they often draw on older stories, you know, like the Dracula draws on Vlad the Impaler and like a lot of that Eastern European mythos around like, you know, blood drinking, like nobility, all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, they draw on those things. So they're like underneath all that kind of silly movie monster stuff, there is like this undercurrent of things that have actually made people afraid. Monsters taking them in the night forever. Like there's something there. And I think maybe like things like Mr. Boogedy borrow that a little bit. Just they borrow the aesthetic of it. But there's no like underlying like here's the theme, the modus operandi, like here's the theme that we want, or like we're looking for, like, you know, like the Aztec people believe that blood was the blah blah blah, you know, like there's no underlying thing there. And something that Disney has done more recently is that, you know, like if you look at movies like Frozen, you look at movies like Moana, you look at a lot of the recent spat, especially the princess movies, they really do pull on a lot of classical works. You know, Hans Christian Andersen, you know, Polynesian mythology, all this kind of stuff. They really pull heavily on those. And I think that lends like without, you know, infringing on copyright, they're still able to get this like sense of weight and heaviness and emotional impact. But like things like this, none of that's there. Like this is just good for like you know what I mean? Like I'm really digging a hole here, but I know like it just doesn't strike very deeply. And I know it's meant to be silly, but I guess it could do both. But it just feels like this was like, man, we got no old stories to go off of here. We're just making this up as we go.
But I couldn't help thinking as I was watching it how similar it was to two other movies that are much more popular that came after it. And that was Ghostbusters 2, which is the one that really stuck out of my head, like the him coming out of the statue versus Vigo coming out of the painting.
Oh my God, yeah.
Capturing a being, possessing Ray, all that stuff is this. And then also to a high degree Hocus Pocus, but I think it's more because of the kids fighting against the witches, but that sort of Salem-esque town and people not believing in children and all that stuff kind of adds up to it. But and the whole fair being overthrown, and I think in Hocus Pocus they take over like the Halloween festival or whatever where all the kids are out trick-or-treating. But those things were a couple years to 4 or 5 years after this movie. I'm sure that there was other stuff before this that had the same kind of things. But yeah. I was really like, Ghostbusters 2 throughout a lot of it. Like, this is a little weird.
I didn't see that. That's interesting. But yeah, it's definitely a precursor to that. And, you know, it's worth remembering that the 80s, if you remember, was a high time for the possession aesthetic because we were in the post-Exorcist world, and that like took the world by storm. That shaped a generation of, I think, writers, filmmakers, film buffs, and everything. So yeah, Ghostbusters 2 is also part of the Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 are part of that. Like and Ghostbusters 1 heavily.
Poltergeist 2 had the old kind of, not necessarily colonial guy, but the fact that there was the older guy,
the Quaker,
that was that was coming in and he possesses the dad in that movie. that was 1986. So that was the year the Boogedy came out. Certainly they could have pulled a little bit from that, but it's still like the themes are not unusual for this kind of story. It's light fare. And again, they probably weren't banking on it because they don't have, at that point in time, they don't have a big video market, video on demand. At most, you were hoping that these get replayed on one of the tertiary channels, on an ABC or CBS necessarily. But if you move into like the TBSs or the USAs, which were still popular at that point, maybe you could get it to show up on an HBO every once in a while as a replay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we didn't have the DVDs. We didn't have that kind of stuff, that market where people, like, buying a VHS tape was something you really wanted because it was $80.
God, I remember that too. Like, that's like, am I buying the only copy?
Right.
Like, that's what I remember, like, having to pay so much for a movie. Yeah, it's you know what led me to think that is just like this is probably a bias in thinking, but like, even again, I have to couch everything because I picked these. Well, Matt actually helped pick this one this time. This is all his fault. But the original Boogedy idea is my fault. That, you know, these are silly, but I kind of use the yardstick of like, the more convoluted your solution for the protagonist has to be, probably the worse the writing is. You know,
yep.
Like, and I felt like this was really complex. The way they started, the way they kind of finished this thing out, or the way they started, like, all the, like, the bodies changing and like having a laugh ghost out of things. Like, it just, like, they were all very. It just seems like people were just kind of spitballing a lot of times.
And how all of a sudden it goes from him, like, he shows back up and all he wants is Marion, who we never really see in this at all. But we are supposed to lead that the outfit that she wears means that, oh, that must be Mary, and she's wearing the same clothes, which I assume everybody had that fucking outfit in Boogedy's time. Oh, yeah. Like, you could not walk across town to get a fiver of milk to, like, not see 1,500 Marians walking around. That's probably what it was. He was obsessed with this girl, and she was everywhere because they were all these different women that all just looked like her. But so he captures the mom because she's wearing Marion's outfit, and then gives her Bride of Frankenstein hair, which is, again, like a ridiculous moment of like, well, let's just do that because it's Bride of something. And then all of a sudden the daughter's wearing out, and it's like, oh, you must be her. It's overly silly. He was the weakest part of the whole thing. Like, the family stuff, the fallout with Eugene Levy's character, like, wanting the town back and everything. Him getting the magic cloak was a little weird and just, like, randomly shooting fireballs at things. But it was still, like, all that stuff was actually pretty good. The Boogedy stuff was, for the most part, the weakest portion of this story. To me.
Well, and maybe that's just a byproduct of, maybe it's a byproduct of it because it's like a Disney Channel movie. It can't be that scary. You know, like, so he has to have no teeth and he has to be silly. But I don't know, like, I'm sure there's plenty of examples of villains that are supernatural antagonists that are written in a lighthearted way, but are still not so weak, you know, like through in terms of the narrative, in terms of writing. Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, Vigo's not that, like, seriously scary the way he's going back to the Ghostbusters 2 thing. There's really not the scariest villain, but he's put together well. Like, it's thematically he's put together. He's got an aesthetic. He's got a look. He's got a delivery. He's got methods and everything. I mean, are the methods that scary in the long run? No, it's not like a bloody, gory movie or like a, you know, like in inherently violent film or anything like that. But yeah, it's executed well. But yeah, this is just it's a silly villain, but also, like, there's a lot of convoluted writing to get the protagonist in his way. I think that's the best way that's what it feels like. I feel like the writers were trying to just get them somehow in the way of a villain that they didn't really have a clear, like, motivation for, other than, like, he's spooky.
Yeah, and how can we display his powers without having a budget to do that? So the random, hey, we're going to buy this shop because we need to open up our gag store. And as we go into the shop and we open it up, it turns out that it's an old wax museum. So at some point we can have all these wax museum characters wander around for like 3 whole minutes. That whole scene of them coming to life and going out in the crowds and doing anything to attack people is really over that fast. And then they move along and they're putting all the wax figures back into the store again. It was really nothing other than
a quick turnaround.
Yeah, we can get people who dress up like Dracula and Dr. Jekyll and all these things real easy. That's cheap. We've got those costumes on hand. So that's why they did that.
So I think a lot of what could
I agree. It's low budget.
Yeah. So I think a lot of what could have made Boogedy scary was diminished by during the first position of the dad, when he would do something and then he would just go, Boogedy. So like, and even when Eugene Levy was wearing the cape later and he would like zap someone and he'd just go, Boogedy. And it's like, so, but it is Disney. So I think it was supposed to be scary, but not scary at the same time. We did not watch this intending to be scared. Like, this was the whole point was just to kind of make fun of this. I didn't think there was going to be any sort of scariness involved.
If you were 9 years old, do you think you would have been scared by any of it?
Fuck yes. The fact that this fucking this movie specifically, a fucking statue broke in half and possessed someone and then started flying around, I would have been scared. But
I think it was around that age when I saw Saturday the 14th, maybe around the same age as what I would have been for the 9 years old to see this. And Saturday the 14th was ridiculous. It was a spoof of all these different horror movies. Like, they had the creature from the Black Lagoon show up in the girl's bathtub. Just a bunch of weird random creatures in a haunted house scenario. And I remember finding parts of that scary, even though I knew it was a comedy and I knew it was all played for laughs. There were still parts where it was like legitimately, as a kid, not easy to like just shrug off.
Yeah, I think I was nine years old in like 88, 89 at the time this came out. Like, just before. Like, so the version of me that would have been alive when this came out probably would have been freaked out. And if you remember, the reason that I originally called out for us to do Mr. Boogedy was I remember being spooked by the fucking commercials for it. I didn't remember watching it. I know I did, but I just remember being spooked out by the commercials. I mean, I remember Tales from the Crypt or whatever used to come on at 9. It was like, if we had cable in the house, it was like, nope, kids, go to bed. This is going to freak you out. and it would have. Tales from the Crypt would have fucking messed me up, I'm sure, if I was watching it at 7 or 8 years old.
Tales from the Crypt was creepy.
Even now, if I watch it, it's not scary, but I can certainly see how it would have been unsettling when it came out.
Unsettling is a great word. Yeah, unsettling is the perfect word. It's like, well, I've never seen that done on film before.
Yep. So,
that's a new thing for me to deal with.
David Faustino having a career for 10 years on one show is unsettling after this movie.
Yes.
Tell him you're sorry.
It's so weird watching kids, like seeing a child actor in a small bit part before they became who you know they were. Because we look at him, we see fucking Bud, right? Like we see Bud Bundy when we see him. But when you're watching him in 1986 to 88 in this role, you had that kid looked like every other fucking kid.
Yeah, it's the fact that they replaced
like
his
there's
brother
no
with
way
kid.
to tell that was going to become him.
Yep.
And that's
so I would have not known that. I would have not known at that age.
No, and Edward Furlong, Terminator 2.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? But that is who he is to me. So when I say something to someone and I'm like, yeah, I met John Connor from Terminator 2, and like, who is that? I'm like, how the fuck do you not know who that is? But it's the same as Bud Bundy and David Faustino, and it's like, how do you not know who that is? Goddamn people.
Yeah, but which John Connor?
Those are like cultural touchstones.
Yep.
It's true. There's several John Connors.
Yeah.
The fact that there's 2 Sarah Connors is already messed up enough. That's not cool.
Only one John Connor
dies.
That's
the series I totally
seconds
lost
into the
contact
new movie.
with, by the way. That's a series after I totally lost contact with, and I think I'm better for. Well, I think I just I didn't continue to follow those movies.
Let's talk about that for a second, because.
Oh shit!
What? No. So what was the last Terminator movie you saw?
Last Terminator movie I saw was probably I think I saw some of Rise of the Machines.
Sorry. Yeah. If you're listening to this,
into the door.
Beech's daughter just kicked the door open.
She's got a box. She does. She knew. She heard you say Terminator. She's like, oh, it's me. She's got a box of Dominoes and a cheese stick in her mouth.
Oh,
hey, honey,
and there she goes.
Close the door behind you, baby. Thank you, sweetheart.
That is Leah. That is my youngest, 3 years old. Is it anybody that's had a 3-year-old knows? They are absolute savages, and they're living life how we all wish that we lived.
The only thing that I own.
You know what I would feel like doing?
What's that?
I feel like playing dominoes and eating a fucking cheese stick, so I'm gonna go do that wherever the fuck I feel like it. I wish my life was that.
I was gonna say the only thing that is 3 or more years old in this house is bottles of beer. 'Cause I'm an adult.
Nice. Yeah. Age them up, buddy.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of money sitting. I started selling them off.
I saw some. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I started selling some of the ones I knew I wouldn't drink to fund a trip to Denver with my wife, which is now going to get fucking postponed because of COVID. Anyways,
that's true.
It really
is. That's the epicenter.
Yeah. Anyways, what you were going to say?
My last Terminator movie. I think, honest to God, the last full Terminator film I saw was T2. I've seen part of Rise of the Machines.
Yeah.
And I've seen part of the one where they had a CGI Arnold fight himself.
I think Salvation. That was the one with Christian Bale.
The last complete that I saw. I think it's okay.
Yeah. No, you're totally fine. I'm not going to say, like, you got to watch Dark Fate, but if you were to watch another one, Dark Fate would be the one to watch. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I kept trying to watch the one where they went back and had Sarah younger again, because I thought the concept of that was interesting, but I hadn't seen the Christian Bale one. I hadn't seen. I couldn't tell you a single thing about Part 3 other than the fact that they switched John Connors on it and had Claire Danes in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that the franchise is enough for me. I did watch the whole series of the Sarah Connor Chronicles with Lena Headey taking the part, and that was at least somewhat interesting to me. I feel like they've tried it so many times going back to that well that it doesn't hold anything for me anymore. And it's not just because they switch actors, but it's because it's like, Jesus, like at some point you got to stop.
Hold that thought. Pete said he's losing us. Oh, is he back?
Yeah, I'm hearing you guys now. It was a little bit of a hiccup there, but I've got Corey back now.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure you didn't completely lose us. Shit. I don't have anything else to say about Mr. Boogedy or the Bride of Boogedy.
Well, then you need to go back and watch it again.
Speak for yourself. I watched the whole thing.
That's true. I haven't even gotten through one entire watching yet. I just kind of sped through the end. I did like I was watching at like 1.5 speed, and then as I got into the last third, I just started kind of clicking through for the major plot points. It did one of those.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fucking. It's not Dune. Like I don't need all the intricacies.
No. And that's the thing. Like, this movie very much was, hey, we're just going to remind you who everyone is. And then when we get to that point, Mr. Boogedy is going to come out of a fucking statue, and then he's going to start possessing people, and then we're going to wrap it up. But are we? I thought there would be a third one. Right? There is not a third one.
Were there any more Boogedy movies?
Nope.
So it did not become the bankable commodity like Corey was mentioning. Like, like maybe the wish was.
Yeah.
We never saw. So if you're going to Disney World, which park would they have put the Mr. Boogedy attraction in? I agree he would have gone to the haunted house eventually. But let's say that he's like an international smash success. Mr. Boogedy fucking storms the world. International. Like, makes, in that day and age, makes $75 million or whatever. Where in Disney's theme park do you find the Mr. Boogedy attraction? Frontierland?
Right.
Future? Yeah, where? Like, where do you find it?
I think during the Halloween season when they change stuff out and they bring in new themes for different rides, he would be on a log ride.
Log ride? I can see Tower of Terror, them doing a themed Tower of Terror for him.
No, that's absolutely true, too.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that one. Maybe being like an appearance on the log ride, like the Yeti was for the one that they the Abominable Snowman that they did. I can't remember what ride that was. But then with the Abominable Snowman, yeah, he'd definitely be. I can't do Magic Kingdom. That one's too friendly.
Epcot?
Can't do Tomorrowland. That's too spacey.
He would probably drive the tram to take you back to your car and then go into a competition on the Ocho.
God damn.
He just want to put a bow on it. Yeah. Well, maybe he'd be a great tram driver. I mean, the thing is, there are great tram drivers living among us, and we don't even know it.
We could be the next Euro Tram champions.
Oh God, is there? So it's an individual thing though. It's not team.
It's two people, because someone has to set up the passenger and the other has to drive it.
But the passenger is it a real person?
No, it's a cardboard cutout,
like an official.
Nope, just a cardboard cutout. And you should have seen these dickheads with the fucking foot that line up their feet and measure from the fucking track. It was pretty intense.
Okay, here's I'm gonna pitch this to you guys. You guys are the drivers. I'm your coach. I'm gonna be honest with myself. I don't think I have what it takes to pirate. That could be a different sport. To pilot a tram. I don't think I have what it takes. Honestly, I don't. But I see in you guys the potential for greatness, and I think I understand the inner workings of the human mind and the tram itself well enough to be able to coach. It's just not something that I know that I can't put it into action. So I feel like I could put together a winning strategy for you, but you two could be the ones that take us all the way.
My grandfather did work for the railroad his entire life.
It's in your fucking blood, Corey.
Yeah,
it's in your blood. Do either of you have any Belgian ancestors?
Not that I know of.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's just say, do you guys like Belgian waffles?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only people that don't are communists.
It's just as good. That's fine.
As long as they got cheese curds in them.
As long as they have a little cheese curd, we could get Matt. That's how I'm going to pay Matt. In any cheese curd related thing. So here's the deal. Like, we're going to have to figure out who does what event. Matt, I feel like I'd leave the precision of the passenger pickup to Corey. I know that much.
Yeah.
However, I feel like with the speed test, I feel like you have more of like a cannonball, straightforward, attack it kind of thing. So that's going to be your specialty. That leaves two events for us to dole out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the other ones? Like you have to. So there's like a passenger stop and then a speed run. But what are the other two things?
One was like bowling. So you had to hit a ball, hit pins, and then you had to stop the tram without hitting the pins physically with the tram.
Okay.
So basically, don't murder passengers, which is one I'm going to fail at immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. You're
I'll make it my business to knock people over.
Yeah, that's true. And what's the other one? Do you remember?
I remembered a whole lot better before I started drinking. I'm trying to look up the Euro Tram Championship. The European Tram Driver Championship.
There are videos has a on wiki YouTube. At all is a failing of the internet.
No, there are totally videos on the internet if you're interested.
You mispronounced success, Corey. That's all the internet's for, man. Like, all the people say, oh, it's a utility for work. No. It's for finding out the rules of obscure Belgian sports.
Yep.
So we can take an American team and go fuck them all up.
So it was in Brussels in 2019.
Well, of course it was in fucking Brussels.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so since 2012. 2012 was in Dresden, which I believe is Germany.
It's probably in Belgium.
Well, 2013 was Budapest, 2014 Barcelona, 2015 Vienna.
So this is Euro, not just Belgium.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I got
so
you.
2016 was Berlin. 2017, I'm going to butcher this, but I'm American trash. Tenerife. 2018 was in Stuttgart, and 2019 was in Brussels. They have not announced 2020 yet. Probably shut down because of Corona.
I guess just when's the qualifier, you know?
I don't know. It doesn't say anything about... There are videos if you go to tramem.eu.
Matt's got the land, so we can build our own like training course in his backyard, like people build those Ninja Warrior courses for theirs.
Yep.
That's a really, really good point.
Oh, Beat says Dresden is in Germany. So my land has also been offered up for Highland Games activities. So if you want, you can come train here too.
Good. I don't know if it's relevant at all, but I own 4 operating trams and about 3 miles of track. I don't know if that's going to be useful at all.
We'll make do.
Yeah, can the Throw Bros sponsor trams?
Absolutely.
Could we just call it the Tram Bros?
Tram Bros.
Tram Bros and offshoot of Throw Bros.
This is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
I want to make you guys into champions. Is what I want to do.
That's fine. We need tram jerseys.
I want you guys to taste the success. I want you to live the lavish Dionysian lifestyle of a tram champion. I want you guys to taste being at the top of the world and being able to get whatever you want whenever you want it.
Well, that's kind of wasted on me. My mom already tells me that I'm pretty, so I'm doing fine.
I don't need your damn tram validation.
Well, here's the thing. September 26th, 2020 in Romania is the Euro Tram Driver Championship this year.
Okay, got you. So they canceled Tram M, whatever it was. This year's championship can't take place on May 9th, right? That was coronavirus.
Yes.
The 26th organized the 9th European Tram Driver. They make Tram Driver into one word. That's how you know it's a real sport. Tram Driver Championship. We're looking forward to seeing you in Oradea. I don't know where that is.
That is Romania. So they moved it from May 9th to September 26th.
Nice. I have a friend in Romania that can put us up and can train with us while we're there. His name's Stefan Tumia. He is a Highland Games champion. He beat me in Worlds in 2016. He's a lightweight world champion. So he knows what it takes to be a winner. I'm going to put him in charge of your nutrition.
Oh, boy. Well, I hope it involves cheese.
That's all I was waiting for.
Yeah, it's gonna be brat heavy. I mean, look, man, this is a Central European sport, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot of brats. There's gonna be a lot of beer.
I'm on board. You said the 2 magic words.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're already living in Minnesota, so you're not really that far off from a general East Central European cuisine it is. So it's already all there.
You want to fix that?
Beatmaster in the chat says, for branding purposes, we got to get tram stamps.
That's fine.
Oh my god!
I would like to point out that Beech needs to fix his fucking sentence. I live in Wisconsin, not Minnesota.
Oh, sorry, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Sorry, I do mix those states up a lot of time. I know the one has much better weather than the other.
Yeah, it must be hard living in Oklahoma.
Well, I was in Oklahoma just recently, and
that's true.
I would be offended. I would be offended by that as well.
I'm even drinking a beer from probably not far from where you live.
What is it?
Weathered Souls in San Antonio. I know it's not far from where you live.
No, it's not. That's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
I grew up in San Antonio.
And you can't even remember what fucking state I live in.
That's true. Well,
state of inebriation.
In my brain, Wisconsin. But that's true. Hey. Yeah, and in my brain it was Wisconsin, but it came out Minnesota. But it's one of those cold states.
Really? Yeah. I say I'm not that offended. With that, I know you have children to get into bed and shows to plug, and I need to go back to my couch.
You mean you need to get back to tram practice, because that's where we're headed now.
Without even saying, I have purchased Tram Simulator 2020 on my computer, and I will be going straight to tram training.
Okay, good. Just remember that Tram Simulator 2020, they've got that issue with the braking not being really accurate. So if you for the braking applications, go to 2019 and just fire that up. Or there's a patch available where you can kind of patch back to the 2019 braking system until they get that fixed.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Let's be clear. The only real training is tram training.
Correct. Thank you.
Oh fuck, man. Yeah, whatever. Beech, what do you want to promote or don't promote? I don't really care anymore.
Yeah, be aware that you call people out for trying to promote shit during this pandemic. So good luck.
Hey, buy my fucking workout program, and here's all the supplements I'm into. I don't know. And the one thing of my 4 appearances that I can always count on is that the deeper into the episode you go, the heavier Matt's apathy gets.
Yep.
It's always great. Yep. It's always so reliable. Like, I don't know, it's whatever you want to fucking do. I don't know.
I don't even care anymore.
I don't even care. You guys just fucking make out with a stuffed animal or something if you want to. I'll just sit here. I mean, I have stuffed animals within arm's reach, so it wouldn't be that hard. No, hey, look, if you care about the Highland Games, want to learn more about it, find Throwbros on social media. Go to throwbros.com. You can see what kind of stuff we have for sale. If you are a podcast listener, like you're a podcast listener here, obviously, if you're hearing this, you are a podcast listener, at least one. Check out the Heavy Light podcast. Like I said, it's about Highland Games, but in name only. It's mostly about like Corey had talked about, the slow descent into madness and insight into the human condition through the lens of kilted sports. God, I need to write that fucking down. That sounded good. Also check out the Now You Try podcast, and then find me on Instagram, Mike Beech, Beech with 2 E's, and send me a message, and I'll send you a little. I'll send you the emoji back, the little smooching emoji, maybe a peach.
And also the new Twitter handle, Trambros.
Trambros, yeah. We're going to be building that account up. Website is forthcoming. We will be releasing a COVID-19 tram training program, which you can do while you're at home. We will have lots of, generally we like to do nootropics as our supplements. So you'll be seeing a line of tram pilot, tram engineer nootropics that will help you focus on the task at hand, that will help you with your passenger pickup. So keep locked in on all those accounts for tram supplements and at-home tram workouts.
Huh.
God damn it. The next time we have you on, we either have to do Snowpiercer or Train to Busan.
Yes, we do. Just roll it into a new episode. I like it.
Well, Corey, you're on the hook to remember that because I'm not going to. Corey, what do you want to push?
Yep. Oh, reliable.
Yeah.
Just apathetic till the end. Like, comes in charging hard, but at the end, he's like, just, you know what? I'm going to sell my computer. You guys just figure out how you want to do this next. I'm gonna mail in the next episode written. Oh, Matthew.
Well, it's 5 years of doing this, and I start off real gung ho, and shit's gonna get done, and then I get a couple cans of giggle juice in me, and it's all over.
Yep, you're chipper to the extreme when we start, but by the end, a brain sloshing around in that skull, and
yeah, that's probably the best description of how my brain operates. Is it starts off real firm, and it's just mush by the end.
It's just a bowl of watery oatmeal by the time we're done, guys.
It's the same thing that Matt does to my junk.
Holy!
Oh, we're doing gross.
Yeah, Corey, what do you do in the safe stuff?
Well, obviously, I am still doing, on occasion, the One Mad podcast for one person, which is, if your name is Levi Krause, yeah, I do a podcast for you. If it's not, maybe I'll get to you sometime. Who knows? And then I'm still on the Slasher app at Captain Temerity. There's some very good people on there, and that is the one social media place I found that doesn't seem to roll into the rest of this bullshit. So I can't advise you enough that if you want to be online and talk to people about something that's not the same old crap, but it's mostly about horror movies, go on Slasher app.
Nice.
All right. Instagram, Matt the Lifeguard. Fuck it. That's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for another episode of the Podcast Terror. We'll talk to you guys next time. Oh wait, Corey, next week.
What?
The remake of Grudge with Mason.
Yes. Mason was in the remake of Grudge, and that's where we're watching the remake of Grudge. Yep. Wait, no, that's not quite right, but
no one's going to remember next week or tomorrow.
No. You don't remember it now.
I almost remembered it. So, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Don't talk to you guys next time.
Stay scary, everybody.
Boogedy.
Yeah. God damn it, Beech, I missed that. Stop the audio. just yelling stuff. But oh, holy shit! He already left.
Oh, he took off.
Yeah,
I'm out.
He said he had to be done by 7, so that's what I was trying to push.
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah, you're 7. That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, him and I are central.
Yep.
Save this and
central to the enjoyment of this podcast. Hey Matt, turn your camera back on.
I guess
babble. I'm gonna see how pretty you look at the end of the show. God, you're gorgeous. I love you so much.
Do I look like I've lost my mind yet?
Or just rosy cheeks. The ones you're sitting on, I mean.
Oh, they're kind of cold. It's cold in our house today.
Yeah, I need to get some goddamn cushion for this chair. That's like, it's hard to sit on because it ain't got no padding, and neither do I. Land up with no ass.
I'm about due for a new computer chair since about 5 years old, and I am a man of leisure.
No, my computer chair is new, but I did steal the cushion from this to sit on that because I'm still bony. Yeah. But this chair came from the comic shop in California, and the padding is like ripped to nothing. It is barren, like you.
Well, don't you stand the whole time?
No, I'm sitting.
Oh. I'm
actually a little bit taller if I stand.
But I've gained 1 inch by standing up.
I've gained 1 inch by looking at you.
Oh.
That's like 2 of me.
Wow.
So are you editing the show, or are you just kind of like playing on your phone?
Oh, I started mastering it, and then I text Beech to thank him for coming on.
Yeah.
In terms of editing, I'm mastering it. I'm not. There was nothing that happened that I felt the need to cut out.
No, we had a couple blips, but you paused. Beech is fun.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, he is.
Like, I remember Beech being fun, but when you're in the moment, you're actually hanging with Beech. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that's obviously part of the reason I like him and Matt so much.
Yeah.
If you're not busy Tuesday, we're doing a Cast and Furious. Although I don't know if we're gonna live stream it because of fucking Lightstream. Because we always stream through Matt's page and not the Cast and Furious one.
Right.
Yeah. So I take back what I've said. I'll just kill myself.
I did watch Hobbs and Shaw the other day.
Beat enlarge your return feed. What? Beat Mike's last name is Beech. Mike Beech. I can't say your thing.
He's saying that he looks like Viggo Mortensen.
No, I agree. Window float. Oh, so when there's only 2 of us, it doesn't. So with 3,
that's when Jesus carried you.
Yeah. So, with 3 of us, I could switch it to whoever is talking. It would pop up, but when it was only 2 of us, it's I had to put my window over your window again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Beatmaster was saying. Thanks, Beat. You got a sick ass dick, bud. Let's see.
Oh, I see. Yeah, now I can.
Yeah.
Now I'm actually looking at it. I didn't have the video going because why do that?
No, if it
Did you just black out for a second there?
I closed my eyes.
It really seemed like it. I was concerned. I was like, I don't have Ashley's number. I don't know how I'm gonna.
Well, so earlier today we were supposed to hang out with my friends Billy and our friends Billy and Jackie, and my godson, but because of everything, we played Cards Against Humanity through a phone app over the internet and just did FaceTime. So I started drinking old fashions at 1, and then took an hour off and then started drinking beer to do this. So I'm very sleepy right now.
So Levi and I just talked about old fashions last night because he just rewatched Mad Men.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about alcoholic beverages and stuff, and there was an episode of Next Iron or American Iron Chef, and they had mixologists working with the two chefs that were competing, the two different Iron Chefs, and one of them made an old fashioned. We were just having this whole big conversation about mixed drinks in general. But he was like, yeah, I'd really like to try an old fashioned. He's like, I just don't know that I could make it because it seems really complicated. That's one of those things that you want to find somebody who does it. So you make your own old fashions.
Well, I make a version of old fashions. I don't muddle the fruit or any of that shit. Okay. A friend of mine kind of showed it to me. So I take like the candy orange wedges.
Okay.
So like the gummy
like
orange.
Candy
yeah. So the gummy orange wedges with the sugar. Put those on the bottom. Fill the glass with ice, and then I have brandy soaked cherries. So I threw 2 of those in there, and then 2 spoonfuls of the juice, and then like half a glass of whiskey, and then almost a half glass of old fashioned mix, Gary's old fashioned mix, and then I top it off with water. So I don't use sweet or sour soda, and I don't muddle the fruit, and so it's
What's your brand of whiskey that you go with?
Today I did Diablo Shadow, which is from Sutherland, which is where Mason works.
Okay.
I've used Buffalo Trace, and then that's really about it. I don't make them a ton at home because I'm sitting on so much beer that if I'm going to have a drink, it's going to be beer.
Yeah.
Normally, if I go out, I'll do Southern Comfort old fashions, but that does come with soda. Mostly because Southern Comfort's a little sweeter. But
they had to use Tang on the competition. It was one of the ingredients they were stuck with.
Oh, okay.
So I think they use that in the old fashioned. But
yeah, that makes sense.
No, that's the thing. When we were talking about this last night, it was about the fact that I missed the boat of getting to that higher quality of mixed drinks because I was in my mid-20s. I didn't drink for a long time, anyways. Like all my friends drank, and I didn't really go for it, but I had an open bar at my house when I was 12 or whatever. And so I had the capability, and I remember getting into whiskey sour because it was at some family event wedding, and I was 15. I got really ripped on those.
Yeah.
And I liked whiskey sours. I like Long Island iced teas. And I like margaritas, but I can just drink the margarita mix and be happy enough. But like, in your early 20s, it's all beer. It's all like going to bars and getting trash beer or whatever else you can to get as drunk as possible, which is, again, not what I wanted to do. So I had just started getting to the point in my mid-20s where I had friends who were getting into mixing drinks or having mixed drinks and going to get quality alcohol, that kind of stuff. And it was also at the time when Swinger was out, and so it was like you were getting the higher class of alcoholism. And then I stopped drinking. And I really missed the boat because there's a lot of stuff that I think would probably be interesting and would probably give me a taste for alcohol that I've never really had before. But, screwed.
I didn't really get back into drinking old fashions until I was at a buddy of mine's house who's a beer guy. And he got a little too drunk on barley wines, and that's when he's like, dude, you gotta try this fucking old fashioned. And that's where the candy with the no soda recipe came from. But he used Eagle Rare, which is like a mid-level bourbon or whiskey. It's a little too expensive for me to want to just make mixed drinks with. That's why I went with the Buffalo Trace.
Right.
Meyer generally has Buffalo Trace for like $20 when it's in stock. So it's always on sale for like $20 or $21 a bottle when it's in stock. That's the hardest thing, is when it's in stock.
I think if I'm remembering this right, a recent episode of another podcast that I listened to, which it's two guys who make webcomics. Brad Geiger was talking about how he was at a restaurant and he ordered an old fashioned. He was like all set with his drink order. And he orders this old fashioned, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of whiskey do you want in it?" And he blanked out. He couldn't just like he got stumped on like, now I have to decide. Like, I'm used to, I figure you guys know how to make an old fashioned. I wasn't expecting this choice. So he freaks out and he orders like the highest quality, most expensive whiskey, and he's like, and it tasted awful. It was terrible, and I had no way to like backtrack from it because like I already looked like a fool for not knowing what to order in the first place. like all that stuff that I wanted to do and look cool, and I couldn't look cool anymore. So I had to drink this thing that was super expensive and just the worst drink that I've ever had in my life. And that is the thing, is like sometimes you want to have the lower quality stuff for a mix than that super high quality stuff that's where you drink it straight. It's like extra virgin olive oil get used in so many things where it loses all the potency of being extra virgin because you're cooking it and stuff.
Virgins.
See, again, I'm having conversations about stuff I know nothing about.
Yeah, and then I don't know anything, so I just kind of wiggled my eyes at you. I also realized I'm drinking a horchata French press beer, and it's not very good.
Oh God! Well, that's horchata.
Well, it's like,
according to American Dad, that's Spanish for vomit.
The guy who sold it to me was like, "It was fucking so good," and it tastes like a bad cinnamon toast crunch.
Like bad.
It tastes like bad cinnamon toast crunch.
Like bad.
I don't know why I keep drinking it. I feel obligated to do so.
That's rough. That's the hard part. Is like when you're sticking it out. You have nobody to impress here.
No, I know.
You're gonna drink more beer, Matt.
No, I'm done after this. It's just.
We still think you're cool.
I see. It's just money. You know what I mean?
Here,
like,
I'll make you feel better. I went to because we don't have any food really in the fridge, or like it's all frozen, and I hadn't eaten it all today. And before going to the show, I'm like, well, I need to get something to eat. Yep. I need a determination of food. So I was going to order a pizza from our local place, Gavoni's, which is the only pizza place that's been around us that Aaron's liked. And I called up, and I didn't get an answer. I'm like, well, maybe they're busy. So I called up again, still get an answer. I'm like, well, shit, they might actually be closed. This could be part of what's going on. So Aaron's like, well, can you just order from Pizza Hut? Because they're around the corner. And I'm like, I haven't had Pizza Hut since we lived in Petaluma. That's probably like 10, 15 years ago. And I liked Pizza Hut because they did stuffed crust, which they didn't have today. But I also have like worked past liking Pizza Hut. So now I got a fucking Pizza Hut pizza downstairs. And Erin had the Wingstop wings or whatever they have from there.
Pretty good.
And so she liked those. She was like, these are great. Yeah. I'm like, fucking gross.
It's the sauce more than anything. They have pretty good sauces.
Yeah, she liked the sauce. I'd gotten some of my fingers on the way out, and because I don't give a shit about my personal health, I like my fingers. And then stuffed them right in my pee hole. But it's not for me. Not my thing.
I also I have a chicken wing tattooed on me, so chicken wings are kind of my thing. So, yeah.
Chicken wing, do your thing. Nobody's going to get that reference. Nobody's going to get that reference.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's...
Put it in your chicken wing. Trying to concentrate so I can see straight.
So everything worked okay? Beat, no complaints about the sound from us this time? I know we were already working on it when you came in.
Glad you said something. Ugh. Fuck.
I feel like Skype is giving us more hassles than anything. But that I changed out the entire operating system of this computer. I was just kind of curious how it worked out. Now I got to figure out how to record the single shot cast for Levi's stuff. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
What? All she said is, "Oh, sounds okay to me." That just showed up.
Yeah.
All I saw was that our kids' schools canceled until April 26th. Lord help me. Lord help you. Don't have fucking children.
Oh.
That's... Don't ooh me. It's the fucking truth. Currently using the lesser headphones, but sounds like it's okay. Oh my god, this beer's so bad. So Beat, I had not touched anything since the last time that we had worked on everything, and Beech and Corey said that they couldn't really hear me, so I fucked with it a little bit. I turned me up more.
Yeah, You were muffled and you were really quiet when we started out.
Fucking weird.
But that could be Skype. Skype is not perfect.
That's annoying, but I agree.
Oh, so the movie that I posted.
Oh, I downloaded it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't fuck around, bro.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
Did you see what it was?
A little bit. I mean, I'll watch it. Not gonna. I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that Christy Swanson went on to better things, and that's why she wasn't in the sequel to her Mr. Boogedy. This movie's going to prove that's wrong. Oh. This movie's so going to prove that's wrong.
She got paid more.
Probably. For everybody. But she also had to act with Chad Lowe.
Hey, you take that back.
She didn't act.
No, I don't know who Chad Lowe is, so just don't worry about
Rob Lowe's brother.
Well, I got nothing. What the fuck?
I can make another American Dad reference.
Oh, that's fine. Is he in that?
Chad Lowe?
Yeah.
No, they used him as a joke. When Stan, it's a Terminator episode. Stan from the future comes back to stop Stan from screwing up his marriage. But in turn, what he actually wants to do is steal regular Stan's wife for himself to take her to the future. But he's teaching Stan how to fight. And he's like, punch high, punch mid, kick low. And so Stan is getting it wrong. He's like, punch low, kick low, Chad low. And then there's a point later on where the robot is flying at him and he goes, Chad low, and he basically sweeps underneath and there's a guy flies over him. But as he says Chad low, one of the people that's working there in the park that they're at turns around and he's like, what? Because it was Chad Lowe.
Seems like my brand of humor.
Yeah, American Dad, far and beyond funnier than Family Guy a lot of the time. More than not.
Motion starts off real firm, and it's
just a ball.
All right. Yeah. Are we playing the Who Can Say Fighter? Yeah, I'm just started to realize how drunk I am.
I've kind of seen it. Also, your camera keeps blinking through different cycles. Yeah, it's the light probably. It's causing it to fade in and out. Color saturation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That guy's feed was wonky. Yeah, Ashley. So Beech said that he was worried his kids were streaming, so he was trying to. I think his laptop or whatever his setup was on Wi-Fi. He tried giving priority, and that's why we killed our video to try and allow him to be able to kind of up and down. That guy, fucking, you give Beech the proper hugs he needs. Yeah, I think this camera is set up to adjust color based on how bright it is around me, and I fucked up and I didn't entirely close the blind behind me. So I think as that changes, it's changing around me and it's doing whatever.
That happens. Also, in between coming up here and now, everything covered with snow.
Informer?
Like my whole. Yeah, it was like it was a perfectly nice day, and all of a sudden, snow showed up, did his Rastafarian rap at me.
I'm not going to stop because I'm a child.
Make the boom boom dance. Yeah, I know.
I woke up this morning and it was snowing, so you're getting what was here.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it at all.
It's going to melt tomorrow, don't worry.
Yeah, we'll see. With my luck, it won't.
Ours was gone like by the middle of the day.
Yeah. Our back door just finally got to the point where it could actually close and lock correctly. Because for some reason in the winter it just swells up, and it's like, I'm not gonna. Good luck.
That's what I like to. I say in winter I swell up. It has nothing to do with my drinking.
No.
It's just that I'm swelled up, guys.
All right, so we're recording
Monday.
Not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. We're recording on a Monday.
Yep.
I'm letting the room know because
that's fine.
We never tell them ahead of time what we're doing, and then we're lucky they show up at all.
No, it's true. I'm just publishing the episode so I can answer your questions with certainty. Okay.
What time we're recording that day?
Give me a second. Let me see. We have snow coming tomorrow night. Yeah, no one cares about Maine. Mason.
6 p.m. Eastern time.
So 5 for me, I believe.
On Monday the 30th is what you had said.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what you said. So
yes.
5 Central, 6 Eastern, Monday the 30th.
3 p.m. Pacific.
Yes. And then I haven't set a time.
We're doing the new Grudge.
Yes. And then I want to give you a heads up because this is like 10 hours worth of homework. The first season of HBO's The Outsider.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 weeks with Jack and Kevin.
Okay. So in 2 weeks we're doing 2 episodes. We're doing 5 episodes and 5 episodes.
Nope, we were just going to do 1.
All right, so we're doing 10 hours of homework for the show after next.
Yeah, I think the way that it was, because I was playing video games with them last night, and I'm like, do you just want to do like a broad overview on the entire first season in 2 weeks? And they were like, sure.
It's Jack. I will do whatever the fuck it takes.
I can text them quick. We got some.
Well, no, I'm okay with it. I'm just saying. It's Jack. I'm good with that.
Just before while we're still here. Where did it go? Kevin.
I think because I go back to the office this week. The next week I'm going to be working from home anyway, so I can sit and watch it.
Okay.
I could probably do that at work too. Honestly,
I just assume everyone's working from home forever, so I didn't think about that.
Yeah, we're alternating at my building. Our team, there's 4 of us. 2 of us are working from home. The other 2 work in the building, and then we switch back and forth. Because it makes sense to double the chances of everybody getting infected.
Sorry, Beech just says Matt's text starting with you up. I know they're awake. But I kind of wanted to. Don't cut the mic, Glenn Fricker will punch you in the face. I don't know who Glenn Fricker is, but yeah. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have like a super white collar job, so I don't have to go out in the world.
Mine's sort of white collar, but it doesn't have enough starch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My fucking hands are wrecked from washing them and shit. Kevin thinks 1 episode should do. I just believe it's going to be 1 very long episode.
Oh, yeah. No, that was what I thought you had said at first is the next 2 weeks. Is like, I thought it was 2 episodes of it. But no, I'm fine with doing it all in 1 episode and being the 10 hours of prep for 1 episode.
Okay, so the timing on that is going to be weird because admittedly WrestleMania is that Sunday and I'd like to watch it because they are doing it to nobody.
Right.
So I really want to watch that. So
by the way, that is the dramatic tension fiction that I want to write is wrestling to an empty room. I think that's a beautiful story.
I agree.
It's like the autobiography of Hulk Hogan, like after he made all the racist comments.
Ooh.
Before WWE forgave him, took him back.
I'm shocked that they let him come back.
I'm not.
A little bit of BS. Just because they try to be so PC these days. Holy shit, I'm dying.
When is wrestling PC ever?
Now I think they really aim to be like family friendly. Like they've stopped. They're not supposed to bleed. It's a lot.
I just remember, and I didn't watch it, but I remember the scenes of The Rock just talking about Poontang Pie the whole time.
Things have changed a lot.
Good.
What the fuck? Why for you browse? Oh my god. iTunes has really changed shit, and I don't like it. For fuck's sake, I just want to see how long a goddamn episode is.
What's up, Matt?
Beech is curious. Not Beech. Beat is curious how long our longest episode was, so I was trying to look back at the one that I did with Mike, see how long it was, and iTunes changed like how they search, and it is a fucking joke. 165. God damn, that was 14 episodes ago. Let's see. Come on. 3 hours and 48 minutes was the longest episode.
Which doesn't seem like it should be the longest one. I feel like episodes with Jack and episodes with Matt Vincent should be up there.
I think they were about.
But we were trying. We were actively trying to get it as long as possible.
Yeah, I think those are usually about 3:15, 3.5. So. More than likely April 5th. I just don't know what time, Ashley. It's because Danny Glover showed up. That was the whole conversation. Is I'm not sure on timing because I do want to watch WrestleMania if I can, but it really won't make a fucking difference if I do or if I don't. So maybe Saturday. I assume that the whole world will still be on lockdown, so that weekend's probably pretty wide open. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I gotta get through next Monday. I have Monster Madness tomorrow, Cast and the Furious on Tuesday, and then us again next Monday.
Is Monster Madness actually being published yet, or is it?
Yeah, season 2.
Because I haven't seen it show up in my feed.
Season 2 started the beginning of March, and then it's bi-monthly.
Oh, is it bi-monthly?
Yeah, she switched to bi-monthly because of how hard it was. In a timely fashion.
Maybe that's why I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I want to say another one probably comes out tomorrow then.
No, the last one I have was 18 weeks ago was Victor Frankenstein.
Oh, shit. March 8th. Yeah, March 8th, King Kong came out.
And something's wrong with my feed. I'll have to try to work on that.
Oh, holy shit. 2 came out. So, more than that. The Wolfman came out since Victor Frankenstein. The Thanksgiving episode, The Mummy, The Shape of Water, and King Kong all came out since then. So let me know. I don't know how much we can do for it, but I'll look into it. It's a good time for a podcast overload. Yeah, Ashley, you're right. Yeah, I know. So Monster Madness, we don't do live. Yeah, and then Cast the Furious we can't do because of paywalls and shit, and it's easier for us to just not do it live than me to explain to Matt how to use everything that I use, because I don't want his password for YouTube because I don't feel comfortable with that. So, yeah.
There we go. So there's another feed that came up. Me looking for you guys.
Oh, because I think we switched to Himalaya somewhere in there. And that might have been why it switched, but I don't fucking know.
That's fine. So I can go all the way back to the holiday special for Thanksgiving.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, no, the Wolfman. Wolfman I didn't hear either. So, yeah, that's good.
Busy.
I have a Matt Stein category on my podcatcher.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm not.
Well, the episode's out. So I'm going to go hang out with my wife, and I suggest you do the same.
Hang out with your wife? Usually we wait till you're not around, but okay.
Go hang out with your wife.
I will.
Yeah, Beech, Ashley, Levi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Sober up.
Ashley, man, missed you a lot.
Yeah, what the
totally.
fuck?
And don't give her shit as we're saying how grateful we are to have her around.
No. I will give her as much shit as I want.
Hmm.
She used to be my friend. We would talk on Instagram. Now she doesn't talk to me anymore.
Who's laying bets that tomorrow morning Matt is going to wake up? He's going to be in this exact same chair in the exact same position with the same stupefied look on his face. He's going to have one of his dogs under his nose with a mirror, just like
a great
Daddy?
Disturbed song, by the way. No, I'm gonna probably just go straight to bed. It's 7:30. I'm gonna go to bed.
I know how drunk you are because you said a great Disturbed song. So,
all right, I'm just gonna stop this. But thank you guys for hanging out, and hopefully we'll see you next week.